Welcome back, Julius, and we are bringing you an emergency market watch because, as you probably know, the ban list just dropped, and crossout designator is going to 1 in the TCG. And now we have a card for you that a lot of players are going to be replacing it with in their main deck, and that is Salesban. And now there has already been a start of a buyout on Salesban because if we look at the price of the secret rare of this card, if you want a single copy for near mint first at least, they're closer to that $7 and $8 price range. But once you start going a little bit deeper into the pricing, we're going to be seeing it go closer to that $10 mark. And then even on that last page, we're going to see it go actually well before or well above that $10 mark. So do keep that in mind. And now, I'm not necessarily saying this is going to immediately spike up to these prices. As we know, I'm sure a few people have some of these copies in their binders that they will be willing to part ways with at a much cheaper rate. But again, with crossout designator going to 1 and a lot of players looking for alternatives to it, Salesban is that perfect out. And we even saw in the day 1 of the YCS that Salesban was actually used in the Tomb Keeper Blue Eyes deck. And he used it well, being able to out the detonator, continue with this combo line, and then finish the game out strong. And even Billy and Asawa, the commentators, were mentioning how good Salesban was because they probably already knew it was going to be replacing crossout designator. But I do have to note, if you do not want the secret rares or want to have to pay through the nose when it spikes up, we do have the options out of the 25th anniversary tins, and they are much cheaper, looking closer to that 18 to 25 cent price range because, again, you want to get multiples from one seller so you're not paying out the nose with that shipping rate. But once you go a little bit deeper into the page, they're going to be jumping up closer to that 50 cent, 75 cent price point, which I know isn't that much of a jump. But very quickly, if every player does start needing 3 Salesban and it doesn't receive a reprint anytime soon, these 2 copies will definitely be seeing quite the increase in price. And that is because not only does it have a direct replacement for a card immediately put on the ban list, but we've seen it tested out live on stream and it won the game for the player. So Salesban is definitely a card that you need to be picking up before they spike in price. And we're not going to just stop with Salesban. We have another card that if you've been holding on to, you're extremely happy, and that is Fiendsmith's Tract. And now I'm not saying run out and buy these. These just spiked because a lot of players were thinking they're going to get hit. And for 80, 85, $90, I'm sure, on the next page, that is what Tract has shot up to. And yes, we've seen a few purchases here and there on the 6th, which is today. Yes, 89, 90, 90. That's crazy. People are actually paying that, okay? But keep in mind, earlier in the day, we saw that 50 mark, that 70 mark, 69, a little bit lower, and then even earlier on, closer to that 45 mark, which is actually insane. So people were buying them out, probably had this tab open on the off chance that it didn't get hit, and you always have to be aware that once these ban lists are about to be released, people have tabs open of TCG player. I know I do. So Fiendsmith Tract either got bought out from the people who didn't remove them from the market, and I'm sure there were many sellers that pulled theirs right before just in case. And that is something you have to do if you do sell on TCG Player. So Fiendsmith Tract, again, not a card I'm going to tell you to run out and buy. This card's hot right now, but is definitely a card that if you have kept your copies, you are looking pretty good. And then the next card on today's list is one that has actually been seeing a little bit of a cameo on today's kind of YCS Day 2, and that is Full Force Virus Quarter Century Secret Rare. And now, on previous market watches, we have talked about Eradicator Epidemic Virus, Deck Devastation Virus, all Quarter Century Secret Rare, all spiking in price, and now, for the Full Force, it's about to do the same. Because if you look down, yes, it was cheaper not too long ago, about $4 or $5. Again, you got that dollar shipping if you're not buying multiple copies. But now, they're closer to that $8 and $9 a piece mark. Again, I'm not sure. I guess, people were picking them up, realizing, yeah, $5 Quarter Century Secret, can't beat that. But again, on today's YCS stream, we did see someone utilizing the Full Force Virus because many cards in the metagame are dark. And this was actually, if I do believe, used in the Tomb Keeper deck. So players that are actually enjoying those trap variant decks, you can actually incorporate cards like Full Force Virus into your deck, because a lot of your monsters have well over 2000 defense, especially after you've already utilized them to negate your opponent's board, and then you want them in the grave, so your Anubis cards put them back. And then we have to mention another card on the list, and that is one that actually had a very unique cameo in the YCS, and that is Fallen of Albaz. And now, this is a fan favorite card, a fan favorite archetype, and honestly, some of the best art in the current metagame, I have to say. But Fallen of Albaz actually saw a pretty cool combo line happen with it. The Blue Eyes player utilized the Heavenly Spheres by tributing it off, special summoning the Fallen of Albaz, and then the Albaz utilized an opponent's light on the board to go into Albion, the branded dragon. And now, as we know, a lot of players are using lights right now, so this is definitely a combo you can go into rather easily. But then once the Albion was on the board, it allowed itself to go into this Sanctifier Dragon, and then since it was the opponent's turn, the Blue Eyes player revived Spirit with Eyes of Blue to the opponent's board, which locked them into Dragon types. And then from there, that was an easy GG. So if you are playing a Blue Eyes deck and want a little bit of spice into your combo lines, maybe even some extension for the opponent's turn, then look at Fallen of Albaz, Quarter Century Secret to include in the deck, and the price of this card is actually pretty cheap. We're looking $17 a piece, $18 a piece. Not too bad when you're looking at the Quarter Century Secret Rare from the 25th anniversary. And now I do want to note, we are seeing all sorts of alt art monsters receiving a reprint, and I do believe at one point in time Fallen of Albaz could receive a secondary reprint of a Quarter Century Secret, so do keep that in mind. But if you are a Blue Eyes player, definitely be checking out Fallen of Albaz to have a little bit of extender in your combo line, because again, being able to lock your opponent out of anything but dragons is actually very, very strong. And again, if players start utilizing this, especially the Blue Eyes players, because as we know, they can drive prices up pretty fast, this $17, $18 price point could go well above that $20 mark, okay? So do keep that in mind, because once you go to page 2, you will see they immediately go down to 20s, and once you go to page 3, they start shooting closer to that $30 mark towards the bottom, and we're not even halfway done with the listings. So do keep that in mind, because Fallen of Albaz and a Blue Eyes deck, it's basically two fan favorite builds looking to unite. But guys, I mainly made the video to yell at everyone about Salesman, whether it's the secret rare or even the super rare from the 25th anniversary tin. So Salesman, if it starts being utilized, it could definitely shoot closer to the price point of page 3, definitely being kind of a replacement for Crossout Designator is what players are looking at right now, and we're seeing immediate buyouts. So let me know if you think Salesman is as good of a card as we're seeing in the metagame, or what players are anticipating, or do you think it's just going to flop? But definitely comment it down below what you think, as well as what you were hyped about on the ban list. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Honestly, there was a lot about it. I was pretty enjoyable, but a few things, you know, they always miss out a little, but hey, they got to leave something for the next ban list. But guys, definitely check out our market watches flashing up above so you get the best prices on the future metagame. And as always, stay safe, have a good night, and suck it, nerds.